So how and why do we use raised beds in our garden? So we use raised beds in our garden because for a few reasons. We practice no dig, and no dig means we don't want to compact the soil where we want plants to grow. We want to just leave the soil to let the organic matter, let the worm life, let the soil microbes, like everything, just get on with its life, become a beautiful, wonderful, happy ecosystem, which will feed our plants ultimately and make them grow better. So if we've got a raised bed around the edge, raised bed defined with defined edges, then we know that space is the space where we can put our organic matter and where we can grow our vegetables. We have nice wide paths in between our raised beds so that we can get in and out, access for wheelbarrows, we can get in and do our planting and our weeding and our watering, all the things that need to happen. So that's part of the reason why we use raised beds. We've got quite high raised beds here. We have these double height scaffold raised beds that we use here. And the reason we have those is because it is a windy site and the wind can really whistle in that direction. So when the young plants are in, we want to protect them from that wind because wind can be quite damaging, especially for young plants because they're not strong enough to really withstand that. And so with the high sides, it means we can still fill it with a good 30, 40 centimeters of organic matter, compost and things like that, but then we still have space for the plants to grow, and especially when they're young. And then as they grow bigger and stronger, they can come out from the top of the raised bed. So all of the raised beds are filled with organic matter. So some have got horse manure, some have got compost that we've made, all sorts of different things are in the base of this, whatever I could find. Mushroom compost, there's all sorts of different stuff going on in these different raised beds. And over time, we'll just keep adding to that organic matter, keep adding, and it'll just get better and better because that ecosystem, the longer it's given to just thrive, the better, and it's undisturbed as much as we possibly can. So one of the downsides with raised beds is this kind of idea that it attracts more slugs and snails, and it is true, there could be spaces for slugs and snails to hide, but frankly, there's spaces everywhere in our garden for slugs and snails to hide. We like to leave lots of nooks and crannies for all the wildlife, and because of that, we try and aim to get a balance so that we also get predators of slugs and snails. One of the key things we have is chickens, and the chickens like to eat the eggs of the slugs and snails, so they'll just root around and uncover and they eat the eggs, and that can just keep the population down, which is a very effective tool at keeping them down. Another reason we use raised beds on this site is because the ground below is fairly poor. It's full of debris and rubble. Used to be a horse sort of paddock. There's all sorts of stuff in the ground. It's not great for growing. It grows, but not great for like having a nice fine tilth, a nice, lovely sort of friable soil that you can easily grow plants in. And so it made sense to go up rather than down. And it's always much easier to add layers of organic matter up to the top of the surface of the soil, let the worms do the action, and then, that kind of works really well. Another reason we like to have raised beds on this site is because we have, I work this site with my elderly mother-in-law, and it's just a bit better for her if it's a bit raised up rather than being right on the ground. It's still important that she can kind of like get in it, get access to it. They're not super high, they're not sort of wheelchair accessible or anything like that, but it's just takes a little bit of a strain off the back when you have them slightly higher up. Another reason why we like to use raised beds on this site is to do with the aesthetics, actually. It's really nice and clear where things are growing. It's really nice and clear for the kids, for all the people who come into our site to know where things are growing, where they can walk. It's really clear, and it kind of looks cool if they're all looking the same. And then we've got this nice space.